What's up, everybody? How we doing tonight? Ice Rice here. I'm going to talk about UFC 220. Stipe Miocic versus Francis Ngannou. Alright, so let's see. Stipe Miocic, he's obviously the heavyweight champion of the UFC. And then Francis Ngannou, the number one contender. Stipe Miocic is 17-2. Francis Ngannou is 11-1. Stipe Miocic is, 35. Ngannou's 31. They're both 6'4", and their weight's right around the same, about 245, 250. Ngannou does have a 3-inch reach advantage on Miocic, which, I mean, doesn't sound like a lot, but when you're getting punched by Francis Ngannou, it probably is a lot. He holds the world record for the hardest measured punch ever by a man. They said it's the equivalent of a Ford Taurus going as fast as it can and hitting a wall. So that's pretty freaking crazy. Let's see. They're both on a tear. Stipe is actually, if he wins this fight, he breaks the heavyweight defense record for the heavyweight belt. No one's ever gotten past 3, so that's pretty cool. Hopefully he can do it. He's 5-0 in his last 5 fights. He's 13-2 in the UFC altogether. And let's see, his last 4 fights were all finished in the first round. That's the likes of Junior Dos Santos, Fabricio Verdum, Alistair Overeem, and Andre the Pitbull Arlovski. So those aren't any slouches. Those are pretty devastating dudes. And then Ngannou, number one contender. He's 11-1. He's 6-0 in the UFC, and he's won his last 2 by huge knockouts. Andre Arlovski and Overeem. He literally uppercutted them and like took them off their feet. Like, not even kidding. You can watch the videos. It's crazy. But that's gonna be a crazy fight, man. Ngannou has all this hype behind him. And, rightfully so. The dude's a beast. He's definitely a different type of animal. So it'll be fun to watch. But Stipe, he's no slouch either. He's the UFC heavyweight champion for a reason. But yeah, it's going to be a fun fight to watch, and I 100% look forward to it. It's definitely a fight that I'm not going to miss. And there's another great, championship fight right after that. Or right before that, the co-main event is Daniel Cormier versus Volkan Ozdemir. That's going to be a fun fight to watch too. Obviously, Daniel Cormier, the champ. He's 19-1 in his fighting career. The only person he's ever lost to is John Jones, and that was by unanimous, I think it was unanimous decision. And then he just lost to John Jones, but that was overturned because John Jones was found with, steroids in his urine, I believe it was. But Daniel Cormier is, a 2-time Olympian for wrestling. He was also the captain of the wrestling team. Like I said, his only loss is to decision to John Jones. He's a former Strikeforce heavyweight champ, I believe, or it was the Grand Prix champ, something like that. He's on a 4-fight win streak, and he's crazy, man. He's only 5'11", and he's fighting these huge dudes. But he holds his own in there. He's a beast, man. Can never count him out, even when he's been hit with everything and the kitchen sink. He loves to slam people. That's you've seen him do it to Alexander Gustafsson and also Dan Henderson. He just picks people up over top of his head and slams them. It's fun to watch. You never know what DC is going to do next. But Volkan Ozdemir came out of nowhere. He's what is it? The fastest. He's gotten the fastest opportunity to fight for a belt without coming in with another belt in history for the light heavyweight division. He's fought in the UFC 3 times. He hasn't even been in the UFC for a year yet, and he's crazy right now. He's on a tear. He beat OSP by decision his first fight back in July 2017, I believe it was, and then he just fought. Who was it? Forget the Russian guy's name. I believe he's Russian. If he's not, I apologize. But then he just fought Manua and knocked him out cold in the first round. Both of his last 2 fights have been first round KO, and they've been combined with just over a minute. I believe it was like 70 seconds. So he's on a tear, and he's not a training partner anymore, but one of his old training partners was Anthony Rumble Johnson down at the Henry Hoof, I guess, Academy, where they're called something like 365 or something like that. Now, the old Black Zillions, pretty much, they all broke up, and some of them, I guess, followed Hoof, and he's one of them. But yeah, let's see. I don't know. That's going to be a barn burner, I think. Definitely going to be a fun fight to watch. Ozdemir's still young. He's 28 years old. He definitely has some height on Cormier, but everybody Cormier's fought has had height on him, so Cormier's kind of used to that, I guess. Other than that, there's really nothing great about this card. There's a couple, good guys, like Thomas Almeida is on it, Rob Font, John Valenti. Other than that, I really don't know half of these people that are on here, and it sucks because the first 2 fights are just incredible. But I guess the third to last fight, the co-main event, is Calvin Kattar versus Shane Burgos. Calvin is 17-2, Shane is 10-0, and that's in the 145-pound division. They're both 5'11". Shane's 3 years younger than Calvin. Calvin's 29. Calvin's 1-0 in the UFC, and Shane is 3-0 in the UFC. Calvin is a wrestler who mixes his strikes very well, and Shane is a very well-rounded mixed martial artist altogether, but he's primarily a striker as well. But then John Valenti, he's 15-9. He's fighting Francimar Barrasso. We're just going to call him Frank. Frank is 19-6. That's the light heavyweight division. Frank is 37. John's 32. And John's got 2 inches of height on Frank. John's an explosive striker. He's got a good chin. And, unfortunately, he's fought, a lot of really good people in the UFC. So his record's kind of crappy, but he's 6-5 in the UFC. And he's suffered back-to-back losses to Patrick Cummings and who is it? Man, it's on the tip of my tongue too. What the hell's his name? Shogun Rua. And let's see, Frank is 4-3-1 in the UFC, and he lost his last fight. But he's got KO power, and he's a wrestler, so he's ground and pounds his thing. The next fight is Thomas Almeida versus Rob Font. Thomas Almeida is 22-2, and he's only lost to number 2 and number 3 in the division, which is Jimmy Rivera and what the heck's his name? He just had the belt. Oh god, this is gonna bother me too. Cody No Love, and that's neither one of them are any slouches or anything. But he's 22-2. They're fighting in the 135-pound division. He's 26. He's 5'7". He's a great striker. He's well-rounded. He's 5-2 in the UFC, and he lost his last fight, and that was to Jimmy Rivera. Rob Font is 14-3. 30 years old. He's 5'8". He's a grinder. He's got great cardio and really good footwork. He's no TJ Dillashaw or Dominic Cruz, but definitely got some footwork there. He's 4-2 in the UFC, and he lost his last fight. Then we got Kyle Bochniak and Brandon Davis. Kyle's 7-2. Brandon is 8-2. It's a 145-pound division. Kyle's got great cardio. He's a striker and he's violent. He always goes for the kill. He's 1-2 in the UFC. Not sure exactly who he's fought, but hopefully he can get back on track. Because he lost his last fight. Brandon Davis is 27 years old, 5'10". He's a great striker. He's a wrestler as well. He's 1-0 in the UFC. And let's see, we got Dustin Ortiz versus Alexander Pantoja. Dustin is 17-7. This is 125-pound division, Mighty Mouse's division. Dustin's 29 years old. He's 5'5". He's got great cardio. He pushes the pace, and he's a wrestler. He's been in the UFC for 11 fights, and he's 6-5 right now. But he won his last fight after losing one right before that. Let's see, Alexander Pantoja, or however you say it. He's 18-2, 27 years old, 5. He's aggressive. He's got great submissions, and he mixes his striking well. Coming from the my phone just vibrated and threw off my whole train of thought. He mixes it very well with his wrestling. Sorry, he's 2-0 in the UFC, and he won his last two. Obviously, we got Dan Eag. He's 5'7". He's fighting Julio Arce, who's also 5'7". Dan's 7-1. This is a 145-pound division. He's a striker and wrestler. Julio is 13-2. He's a well-rounded striker wrestler as well. We got Matt Bassetti and Enrique Barzola. Matt is 22-7. This is a 145-pound division, and he's a striker. He's 5'10", and he's fighting a smaller Enrique, who's 5'7". So he's got 3 inches there, but Enrique's a wrestler, so Matt's going to be punching down on him as he's trying to come in on him. And then, let's see, last but not least, we got Islam Makhachev versus Gleison Tebow. Islam is 14-1. This is the 155-pound division. Islam's 5'10", and he's a striker, also known to be well-rounded. Gleison Tebow has been in the UFC forever. He's literally fought pretty much everybody in the 155-pound division. He's 40-12 is his record. He's 5'10", and he's a wrestler. He's relentless. He's powerful. I believe he's Brazilian. I know his jiu-jitsu is pretty good, and he has some crazy-ass tattoos. But other than that, let's see. I'm just going to give my predictions, I guess, for Stipe Ngannou, Daniel Cormier, and Volkan Ozdemir. Francis has a lot of hype coming in, man. Everybody expects him just to walk out there and walk through Stipe, and it might just happen, but I honestly don't think it's going to. I think Stipe is, he's smart. He's not going to walk in there like Overeem did with his head held high and like throwing random. I don't know what Overeem was trying to do. He was like bobbing his head down and swinging his head back up, and then he got caught with that uppercut and he went to sleep down. But I think Stipe is going to win that, probably in the later rounds, maybe like 3 or 4. But I don't see either one of these guys going the distance. Then Daniel Cormier versus Volkan Ozdemir. Daniel Cormier has never lost to anybody not named John Jones, and I don't think he's going to start now. He's fought heavy punchers before, and he's beaten the heavy punchers before. He's always been the smaller guy, and I mean he's DC. What else is there to say? He's the all-American man. He's a funny guy, and he's not an asshole. So I think Daniel Cormier is going to take that, but I think Volkan Ozdemir is going to give him a run for his money, and it's going to be fun fights to watch. Definitely worth it just for those two fights. So I look forward to it, and it's on Saturday the 20th. So tune in, guys. Hit me up with some comments if you want to hear me break anything down, if you want to talk about a certain topic. I'm open to anything. So shoot. I hope you guys have a good one. This is Ice Rice. Have a good night.